So it's been a while. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Tanya and I have been on a pretty massive internet break. I've been away for about 2 years and I am slowly making my way back, but I thought that I would address two of the main questions that I've received while I've been gone. Number one was, are you alive? And number two was, did your bootcamp get you a job? And the answer to both of those questions is yes. For those that are new, in 2020, I did the CareerFoundry UX Bootcamp, and I had made a video about my experience talking about the course structure and how I really enjoyed the material, but I never really got to tell you the effect that it had on my career. So let's rewind to late 2020. I had finished both my UX and UI certifications at this point, and I was really on the hunt for a job. And because I was so new to design, I was super open to just getting any kind of experience. Full-time position, internship, freelance contract, you name it, I was probably applying for it. First, I found a 3-month internship at an enterprise software startup in London, and it was remote. It seemed like it would be a really great experience. I thought that I would have a lot to learn from it, and honestly, being so new to design, it almost felt like an internship would be a super low pressure way to introduce myself to becoming a designer. There wouldn't be as much expectation maybe at the time, at least that was my thinking. And so I put in an application, I got to the next round, I did a design challenge, an interview, and after a couple really nerve-wracking days, I got my acceptance email and I was so excited. Before I tell you more about where that led, because I had thrown my job search net really wide, I also ended up hearing back from a kind of corporate wellness super startup based in Hong Kong. It was also remote and they wanted to hire me as the sole designer on a contract position for a 3-month project, and it would be over the exact same period as the internship. And so I was kind of debating, like I would get really good experience from the contract position because I would be able to really own the product and the experience. But on the other hand, I would probably learn a lot more from an internship with a senior designer to guide me. And I was hoping as well that it would kind of lead to a full-time position in the future and I would get to really establish myself within that company. So I took a while to think about it, and honestly, I thought that the ideal scenario would be to be able to do both. And so I was feeling particularly brave and I contacted both companies and asked if they would be open to me working for both of them at the same time on a part-time role. And they said yes. And so suddenly I went from no jobs to kind of 2 jobs. I will say that it wasn't the easiest route that I could have taken because I did also move to the US at this point. And so balancing US, UK, and Asia hours was a little bit of a challenge, I would say. But it was the hardest I've ever pushed myself. And I think that I really wanted to prove to myself that, you know, this bootcamp had been a good idea and I was going the right path and I really had to make it work. And fast forward to the end of the 3 months, I finished my Hong Kong contract. I actually created 2 apps instead of the one that we had agreed on. And as we were nearing the end of my internship, I was offered a full-time position as a junior product designer at the London-based company. I worked at that company for over a year. I learned so much from them. I loved my team. They were amazing. And I did get promoted from junior product designer to product designer in that time. In March of this year, I decided to leave that company since I am living in the US now, and US and UK hours are still a little bit tricky, and I just wanted to find something a bit more suited to my time zone. I took a few months off, got back into job search in May, and 2 months later, I accepted a job as a product designer in tech here in San Francisco. So my career path was definitely not your straightforward graduate from bootcamp and land a 6-figure tech job immediately kind of a thing. I'm sure that is the path for a lot of people, just as I'm sure that a lot of other people took something more similar to what I did, you know, going through internships and contracting roles before landing that final full-time position. I will say that there is no wrong path to take, and if you are on a career transition journey at all, you should be really proud of yourself. So let's talk for a second about what UX Bootcamp did help with versus what it didn't. And again, I did the CareerFoundry Bootcamp, so I'm just speaking about my own experience. If you have experienced something different, please share it in the comments. I'm sure that it would be really beneficial for others. So the first thing that I wanted to cover is that your bootcamp will not apply to jobs for you. You're not going to magically get a job just because you graduated. I was responsible for finding job openings, putting in the application, preparing for design challenges, interviews, all of that kind of stuff. I think my bootcamp did suggest potential jobs on just this big job board, but that was accessible to all students, and then it was really up to me to actually sift through them and apply to the jobs that I wanted. My bootcamp did, however, offer me job prep support. And by that I mean I would have a job prep course where I had lessons and like assignments that I would have to do, such as writing my resume, tailoring my LinkedIn, and I had a career coach that would kind of mark all of those assignments and tell me where I could improve, where I could kind of show my skills a little bit better, and I could also have scheduled check-ins with her just to make sure that I was staying on track with job search. So I definitely had to put in a lot of work, but having somebody to kind of be in my corner and that I could go back to and ask for advice and kind of support was really helpful. Okay, on to the next point. Companies did not care what bootcamp I had come from. Not once was I asked about the establishment that I'd studied at, the coursework that I did, what kind of projects we had, nothing. I think them being able to see that I had some kind of an education in design, a strong portfolio, a strong design challenge output, and the ability to really confidently talk about my design process and thinking throughout the interviews was really what got my foot in the door, and not necessarily because I graduated from XYZ bootcamp. So I don't think it really matters which bootcamp you pick as much in terms of what company is going to think. You should really be picking a bootcamp that is more suited to you and your learning style. And then the final point that I wanted to touch on, I don't think I would have got any of the jobs that I applied for without my portfolio, and that was my main asset that I had walking away from bootcamp. I graduated with one UX case study and one UI case study that I had done for the bootcamp itself, and then I had also added on 2 kind of minor case studies that I did in my own time. The bootcamp ones were definitely more robust because I had spent months on them, and I had tutors and mentors walking me through everything, marking them, making sure that I was digging deep enough into the project and the problem, and they were referred to in interviews by my hiring managers as being very comprehensive and a really good way to see who I was as a designer. So that is probably the biggest way that bootcamp did help me, other than providing me with an education obviously, is giving me a really tangible way to show everything that I had learned and who I was becoming as a designer. So to wrap up my thoughts about bootcamp, did it get me a job? Yes. Is it the only path to getting a job? Absolutely not. If you have the time and energy and discipline to teach yourself design, possibly with the help of a mentor or a group of other self-studying students, and you can come up with a comprehensive, well-structured portfolio of case studies, I'm sure that you could get a job too. Would I personally choose bootcamp again? Yes. I am the type of person that works very well with having structured lessons to stop myself from falling down a hole in a certain topic, never to be seen again. And I work really well under deadlines to make sure that I'm being held accountable. Not everyone is like me, and so not everybody is necessarily going to need bootcamp. I will say that the job prep course was useful. I definitely felt a little bit more confident going into my interviews and submitting job applications because I did know that I had a career coach to lean on. So if you did want to go the self-study route, I don't think it would be a bad idea to get yourself a mentor just to make sure that you are a little bit more prepared. In terms of tuition, I have more than paid off my bootcamp investment at this point, and I'm at a point in my career where I'm really just enjoying myself. I think that transitioning to design was genuinely one of the best choices that I've made in my life. It was a very scary choice because it was such a risk, but I'm so glad that I took it. As I mentioned, I am starting a job really soon, like next week soon, but I do want to kind of get settled in before I start talking about it a little bit more. So I hope that answered any questions you have about bootcamp and job hunting, and I hope it gave you a little bit more clarity about whether bootcamp or maybe self-study is the best suited for you if that is something that you're looking into. I guess to give a quick life update, since I know I did disappear and reappear without a lot of warning, like I mentioned, I did move to the US. I moved at the end of 2020 to be with my partner. Last year, I was completely off the internet just to enjoy our time traveling together and really focusing on my career at my previous company. Since then, we have moved back to San Francisco and we have a little puppy. This is Cannoli. I'm sure she will be interrupting a lot of videos in the future. Mwah. If you are still around from my first videos on YouTube, thank you for your patience. I would love to hear where you're at in your design journey now and just in life in general. And if you do have any questions, please let me know and I will try to answer them as best I can. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
Is this your first time on YouTube?
Så kan sommer for mig.
Can I have my lunch? Okay.